Hi everyone, it's Diana Nguyen here from Trinity Health and Living, and I hope you're all well, especially on today when I'm filming. It's the 26th of November, which is Thanksgiving Day. So, for all of those who celebrate Thanksgiving Day, happy Thanksgiving Day. And I hope you have an amazing day and an amazing feast because I love food. Okay, so the purpose of today's video is to chat to you about my experiences around pregnancy. You may or may not know, but I'm currently 15 weeks pregnant, and I just wanted to share with you kind of my experience leading up to this particular time, including from about 2 years ago when I first had when I first consciously connected to the soul of my baby, all the way through to this year when I knew that this year was the year where I was going to conceive. Um, I'll talk about a miscarriage that I had, and then, my experience now having kind of had a pregnancy stick. So, let's chat about the first time I actually had the connection with the soul of my baby. And that was 2 years ago when I was actually on the table during a shamanic session, and I had, I think, 2 or 3 other shamanic students at the time working on me and giving me a healing. And it was pretty profound. It was really about bringing in more of the divine feminine into my body, which is something that I've been working on and still continue to work on for the last couple of years. And it was during that particular time that one of the students, who's now gone through and completed the shamanic training that I did, she first touched on feeling the soul of my baby. And at that stage, the soul came through with a feminine energy, and both of us had really felt that there was a connection of that soul to the Pleiades constellation. And, ever since that time, whilst I haven't had that constant communication with the soul of my baby, I knew that she would come in actually a lot of the times when I was actually doing a meditation. There'll be times where she'd just come in and, she'd be, general chit chat saying, hi, how's it going? All that sort of thing. So, and in some ways for her, it was kind of like, hurry up and be ready to have me because I want to come in. Other times it's just, the time's not right now, but just know that I'll be coming in the future sort of thing. So that was kind of like the conversations that I'll be having with her leading up to it. And it got to the point where I was given her name. And so I knew what her name was. And then I think earlier this year, as I was lying and doing a particular meditation, she came through again and she kind of said, my favorite flower is camellia. So I decided to go to Bunnings and purchase a camellia plant, which was the same color that she had shown me in the meditation, which was like a pinkish white sort of plant. And I planted it. And so then about a month or 2 later, my partner and we started trying. And the first time we tried, I had actually felt the tremendous amount of energy coming into me, which I knew was actually, the soul of, or the energy of my baby, which is coming into me. And it felt very intense. And I had this feeling that we had successfully conceived. This was probably around June, July this year. And it was interesting because when that happened, I was getting a lot of signs from many different places, kind of, I guess, reinforcing the fact that I had conceived. My camellia plant actually bloomed, so the beautiful pinkish white flower had bloomed around that time. And similarly, I'd be chatting to a couple of my intuitive friends and they would be like, are you pregnant? I can really feel her soul around you, sort of thing. So there was a lot of that stuff going on. And so I thought, okay, cool. I was pregnant, all good. And I didn't actually know at that time that you could have actually taken those tests really early on to determine that you were actually pregnant. You didn't have to wait until you missed your period. And I didn't know that. But 2 weeks after all of that happened, all of a sudden I had tremendous back pain. It came out of nowhere. The only other instance I can recall having lower back pain that bad was years ago when I was about to actually sign up to my first mortgage, and I could barely walk. And it was the same this time around. I woke up in pain. I could barely walk, but my schedule was full of clients. So I was massaging and doing healings, just trying to get through the pain. And my partner, who's an acupuncturist and a craniosacral therapist and a remedial massage therapist, I remember I was in so much pain that first day. He actually came home from work in the middle of the day to give me a treatment and then went back to work. And that treatment helped a little bit, but it still wasn't 100%. And I went to my chiropractor and kinesiology to try to, fix the issue and get rid of the pain. But the pain subsisted until that Monday, where I actually had a distance biodynamic cranial sacral therapy session with a friend of mine, and she worked around my ovaries and had released something around that time. And when that was released, my pain went away. And then the next day I woke up and actually I got my period, and it was really heavy. A lot heavier than what I'm used to. I don't normally get cramps or anything like that during my menstruation period, my menstruation, but it was just really intense that time around. And I wasn't too sure what was going on, because I'm not an expert in fertility or pregnancies and miscarriages or anything like that. And I spoke to a friend of mine who is. And she said, Diana, you just displayed really typical symptoms of someone going through a very early miscarriage. And so at that time, I would have been 2 weeks pregnant and then I miscarried. And when she said that, I had a feeling that she was correct. And she's quite intuitive, and that had been something that had come through to her. And, there was a part of me that... I think with everyone who goes through miscarriage, there's that grief that comes in to it. But for me, I think it was a lot easier for me to navigate that grief because I still had the connection to the soul of my child. And at that stage, I connected with her, and she was very clear. She said, you did nothing wrong. It's just we needed to clear out. The miscarriage had to happen so that we could clear out any other remnants of trauma or anything around that womb space to allow it to be of a fertile ground, so that the next time the next time the baby decides to come in, then it would actually stick, because this time it's like the soil was fertile in order to grow a seed, grow a plant sort of thing. Whereas before we were almost there, but not quite. There was still some weeding to do within the womb, so to speak. And so that miscarriage kind of helped get rid of all of the weeds. And then it took me probably about another 2 months of adjusting and I guess healing around it for it to then be ready, because then in the 3rd month I conceived again. And so like I said, I think for me I didn't have to go through that much grief because of the connection that I already had to the child. And so for me, I understand that there's no such thing as death. So when you physically die here, your consciousness is still existing, and you've just transformed into something else, but you haven't actually, died, if you know what I mean. And so for me, having that particular belief, it was very easy for me in a way to be able to step out of the grieving process and, I guess, see the bigger picture and to communicate with the soul of the child to understand why things had happened. And, from my own experience and from also having had clients who have suffered miscarriages, and during certain shamanic sessions, the soul of the child would actually come in to have a little bit of a chat. Just know that whenever you have a miscarriage, you as a mother, you as a parent have done nothing wrong to induce it, okay? Your child, that soul, chooses when it wants to come in. And some of them will also choose to have a particular experience where they will come in and be conceived and then not go through to lead a full human life. That's just the life lesson that soul has decided to choose. Other babies will be similar to what happened to me, where it will be, I came in, but you weren't ready yet, and I didn't feel safe yet, so I decided to abort the mission, and I'll see you again soon, sort of thing. So, I'm not trying to discount the grief or the sadness of the loss that you had at all. And when you have those feelings, they are really real, and I encourage you to get as much support around it as possible and to allow those feelings to flow out. But just know that you don't have to carry the guilt or the shame that you did something wrong around it, because it's not about you. All of these things have already been predetermined, and nothing you could have done would have stopped it from happening. So that's kind of what I wanted to say around that, and just give you a little bit of reassurance that, I know lots of mothers who go through this think that they've done something wrong, whether it's something they ate, whether they didn't exercise properly, or whether they were too ill and all that sort of stuff, and it's got nothing to do with that. Just wanted to clear that one up. So yeah, I'm going to stop it here at 12 minutes, and I'm going to do a part 2, just knowing that when I upload this onto Instagram TV, they kind of cut me off at 15 minutes. So when I come back, I'm going to chat a little bit more about the journey, or a funny lesson that the universe gave to me around the baby, which kind of knocked me for 6. If you guys, I'm Australian and I love cricket, so it's pretty much just a saying, which means that it really took me by surprise and shocked me a lot. So I'll talk about that when I come back. All right, catch you then.